is October the 18th, 2017, 6:15. Let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor, before you go on, I'd like to make sure that we are on air and being recorded.
Okay.
Are we? Yeah. We're being recorded?
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Mayor Eduardo Mujina.
Present.
Vice Mayor Candida Blanca.
Yes.
Commissioner Juan Blanes.
Present.
Commissioner Rhonda Rodriguez.
Present.
Commissioner Luciana Suarez. Is excused this evening. Member Joe Paz is excused this evening. Member Natalie Milian. Member Eugenio Gonzalez. He has submitted his resignation from this board.
Right. All the members of the Charter Review Board, as well as the Mayor and City Commission, should be in receipt of a resignation letter effective immediately from member Eugenio Gonzalez. So, I don't know when the city clerk or the city attorney deem necessary to place on the agenda at a city commission meeting forthcoming, the filling of that vacancy.
Maybe we can take that item or consider that at our tonight's meeting.
Next item.
Next member,
Oh, I'm sorry.
excuse me, Mayor, Ralph Orell.
Present.
Member Antonia Chavez. Alternates, Zachariah Evangelista. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum. City Manager Yolanda Aguilar, City Attorney Jose Villalobos, and City Clerk Annette Gonzalez present.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 3, citizen presentations. No presentations, Mr. Mayor. Item 4, approval of minutes for September 20th, 2017, Charter Review Board meeting.
Any
And
comments
do you
on-
have another day stuff for him?
Another packet?
Packet I have. I don't have a charter. I'll go downstairs. I can give you one if you allow me.
There were some leftovers that I left in your office from the last meeting on your credenza.
Those we already used. So, but I think I have some. So if you allow me, Mayor, I can
Yes,
go
yes.
downstairs and
Can
get
you
a
call
charter.
for a 1-minute break?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break.
Anybody else needs a copy of the charter? Yes, we're ready, Mayor. We're ready.
We're about to, you read the minutes of September 28th, but we don't have any. In reference for the approval September 20th, 2017, any comments? Any corrections on the minutes? If not, I need a motion.
Motion?
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All on coffee, say aye.
That's good.
Next item, approval of minutes of October 4th, 2017, Charter Review Board meeting.
Okay. Any comments on the minutes of October the 4th? If there's no comment, I need a motion.
Motion?
Need a second? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
The next item, all business, none. And at this point, Mr. Attorney, if you want to proceed under new business agenda items. Item 6A, opening remarks by Mayor Eduardo Mujina.
No opening remarks at this moment. Let's, well, the only thing is, unfortunately, we're gonna have to cut it short because we have another meeting. The clerk needs to prepare for the next meeting, so at 7 o'clock, we may cut. So let's try to be brief and let's not repeat ourselves. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, I think that Commissioner Blanes had an excellent idea, which I'm going to follow with your permission. I'm going to briefly go in every single meeting that we have to go over the things that we have already accomplished and request whether or not you have any questions. I'm not going to go page by page, read page by page. I'm just going to go by article, okay? So if you go to page 1, Article 1.01 was not discussed. Item 1.02, construction was not discussed. Item Article 2, corporate limits. We already said that it was too long and too complicated to read. Article 3, legislative. It was the City Commission powers and composition was not discussed. The qualification was not discussed. By the way, the qualifications, 3.02, was approved by 53% on the 11/4/2014 ballot, which is a residency requirement of 2 years. Item 3.03, election separate group, was not discussed. A, B, C, D, E, and E was not discussed. Compensation and expenses are being thoroughly discussed. First paragraph was discussed, was approved, disapproved, went back again, and thank God Almighty, Commissioner Ronda Rodriguez had a very bright idea, and it was second, and it's going to remain as it is. The item number, paragraph number 2, the council may determine annual salary and so on and so forth, was not discussed, or it was thoroughly discussed, but we did not get to a particular solution, so this will be a question mark. The key item that was very much went back and forth was paragraph 3, which I proposed a language, since I was advised to prepare the language for you, which is in page 1 of the document that I just gave you. I don't think, Mr. Blanes, that you have a copy of that. Let me give you one. Oh, you have one, okay. How the charter reads presently is right on top. The one that we suggested is right on the bottom. The commission may, at a regular call meeting by 4/5 vote, approve additional expenses for commission members to travel and/or per diem expenses which are for direct benefit of the city city or city business. The attendance of at educational seminars, convention, lobbying, dinners, at legal cities and other similar events, expenses and per diem shall be limited as provided by Florida statute. Now, last time that we went in 2014, it was decided that did not want to offer such an extensive and detailed language, but the thing is that we have several case law, including one that came down on 2015, which is Matheson versus Miami-Dade County, which thoroughly condemned the fact that the court did not want the county, the municipality, the code enforcement, the charter review to hide the ball. In other words, you have to tell the people exactly what you're going to do and not keep it away. You'll simply say you're going to use the money for dinners, for lobbying, for travel, and so on and so forth. You have to determine that. So this is why I conformed this language pursuant to this case law, Matheson versus City of Miami-Dade County at 3 Southern 3rd, 441. So this is the language that I proposed.
You know, they just use a very small ball.
I'm sorry?
You say they got to keep the ball.
Right.
So they use just a very small ball, one that you can't see.
Well, I'm just suggesting, I mean, you don't have to approve it now. This is a language that you,
But we could. We could motion to approve this language now.
well,
right?
you're telling the people what are you doing for that money? Because before, you were absconding the fact that you were going to go to meetings, dinners, legal cities, travels, and so on and so forth. That's what wanted, that was what was proposed before. Now what you're telling the people is exactly what they're gonna get. Okay?
Okay.
Now, 3.5 was not discussed. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would it be all right if we remove the word lobbying?
I'm sorry?
The word lobbying from.
What about it?
Can we remove it? Because I think lobbying has a bad perception or a bad connotation. I don't know if.
But I mean,
I was thinking precisely that, and I'm very happy that you brought it out. I was thinking of advocating,
Yes,
okay?
But that would be hiding the ball, though.
But that would be hiding the ball.
It's a synonym.
Advocate.
I mean, that makes sense
As-
because we
That
have a
would be-
have a lobbyist.
As-
That bravo, Mr. Blanes.
As-
That bravo.
So we're gonna change that to advocating?
Or
I-
acting
frankly-
as an advocate for the city?
Well, we're limited by how many words we can use to.
Look, I mean, lobbying is lobbying, you know, and there's a back connotation about lobbying, but that's,
Does carry a negative.
if you were not present in last commission meeting, we did approve money for lobbying. So
Yeah, 'cause I feel like
it's
a
up to
voter
you.
would be lobbying.
You don't have to approve it right now, but this is the language that I propose.
So what'd you say, advocate?
Advocating, yeah.
So,
Do I have to make a
Mr.
motion?
Attorney, that's my question.
Yes.
Is a motion needed, Mayor? Is a
I
motion needed?
believe so.
If you want to approve it the way it is right now, you need a motion.
Otherwise, you just redraft it. present it at the
Otherwise,
next meeting.
no, I'm not gonna redraft it unless you tell me to redraft it.
So then we need a motion.
So we need a motion to request you to redraft and change lobbying to advocate.
You want me to put advocate instead of lobbying?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I need a second. Second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Motion was passed.
Unanimous, motion by Natalie Milian, second by Ralph Farrell. And all in favor.
Okay, Mr. Attorney, next item.
The procedure 3.06, we did not discuss, voting quorums, etc. It went out to 3.07. It was not discussed on 9/20. The petition, etc., and how to go about it and procedure for filing was not discussed. The action on petitions, on my recommendations, item number 6, action by the council, it reads, when an initiative or referendum petition has been finally determined sufficient, wait a minute,
Page 8. Página 8.
You mean on section, on 6, action by, on petitioners?
Action on petitioner. Page 8.
I'm sorry, 5, number 5. Referendum petition, suspension effect of ordinances.
Okay.
Page 8.
Last time, on 9/4/2014, it was approved. When a referendum petition or repeal an ordinance is filed with the city clerk or other official designated by the commission, the ordinance sought to be reconsidered shall be deemed valid until the results of such referendum are certified. In other words, you passed an ordinance today. It would be ludicrous for somebody to come and say, I don't like it, so therefore I'm going to challenge it. It should not be challenged, it should not be suspended until the people approve it or disapprove it. So this was approved by referendum on 11/4/2017, 14? 4, I'm sorry. No, 14?
14.
By 51.36%. Next page, mayor and vice mayor was not discussed. We still had the issue of the mayor, it says the mayor shall preside the meetings of the council and shall be recognized as the head of the city government for all ceremonial purposes by the governor for the purpose of military law for service of process. Now, what is service of process? Whenever somebody is sued, whenever the city is sued, there has to be a head that the court assigns a process server to actually give the papers to. So it has been traditionally the mayor. It's inconvenient. However, I have checked with numerous cities, and usually whenever you have a mayor, manager form of government, it is the mayor that is being served.
Mr. Attorney, if I may, one moment?
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you said we did not discuss this.
I'm sorry?
I believe you said that we did not discuss 3.08, yet I have a note here on the side that we did, and that we instructed you to remove any language that conflicts with duty of city manager.
Exactly, but I'm bringing it out after I reviewed this plus the manager's responsibilities on 4.04. Print I, if you go to it, it says sign, the manager shall sign contracts on behalf of the city pursuant to provisions of appropriations and ordinances. It does not refer to service of process.
And did you just state before when you were telling us that you had seen, with other cities and whatnot, that when it's a city manager form of government?
No, when it's you don't have a city manager form of government. You have the commission and city manager form of government.
Right, but you said who's the one that gets served when it's
The
that
mayor.
The mayor.
Yes, sir.
So that's a statute?
That it's not a statute. It has been throughout the years. This is the way since he represents the city. The service of process is usually to the mayor. You can change it if you want to. So
No, basically, I concur with Commissioner Wanda Rodriguez. What happened is, yes, we had a discussion about the back and forth and the strong mayor and not a strong mayor and so on. But I think after we discussed all that, the only thing that we saw is the conflict, just to resolve the conflict between the mayor and the responsibility of the city manager. That was the only thing that it was important.
Right, but I think this is a new thing that he's bringing up today, which is the
Service of process.
service of process. And I agree, I think it's inconvenient for it to have to be the mayor.
as I say, if you want to, I just go ahead and rephrase it and change it. This went out to the ballot before and it was defeated.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Something so simple.
I'm going to read it to you.
Mr. Attorney, on the minutes of October 4th, if you, on the page 4, that section specifically was discussed, and on that case, Member Milian motioned to remove any language that conflicts with the duties of the office of the city manager from that paragraph that was proposed, and it was adopted by this
Okay, but what's
board.
adopted, then I would rephrase it for you. Now, is it just the service of process, or the signing of deeds, or something else? Is it the whole paragraph?
No. It was not specific. It says just the conflict on the language. That's the motion line.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask the
Yes.
city attorney a question? Mr. Villalobos, as you know, subpoenas come to the city when a service of processor comes in and wants a signature, and we understand and recognize that it is the mayor that has to accept the subpoenas on behalf of the city. Can any officer of the city, meaning my office or the clerk's office, accept the service of process on behalf of the mayor if he's not physically at the office?
We do not make that ruling. That is a civil procedure ruling. This is not something that is in the books for the municipality to determine. It is up to the judge, and assuming that someone serves the city for a complaint, they will say to be served upon. If they serve it upon you, that would be an incomplete service of process, and the case would be dismissed. But let me read you what we had before, so you understand why my reluctance and why I brought it to you back again, even though you approved it, okay? In 2014, shall Article 3, Section 3.8, first sentence be amended to read, to repeal that the mayor execute contracts of deeds and deeds. These are the duties of the city manager, and it was disapproved by 53.1%.
In my opinion, it's a lack of understanding on the part of the voters, and maybe we didn't do a good job in preparing a newsletter or something that they would receive from the city saying, you know, these are questions that are proffered to you for consideration, and this is in essence what we have now, and the proposal is, if passed by the voters, this is in simple terms what it would do to the charter, how it would make it more efficient or non-efficient, in whatever fashion you wish to explain.
The whole paragraph shall reads as follows right now. The mayor shall preside the meetings of the council. That is correct. The paragraph continues, shall be recognized as the head of the city, governed for all ceremonial purposes. This is correct. By the governor for purpose of military law. That is correct. For service of process. That's what we're talking about. Execution of contracts, deeds, and other documents. And as a city official designated to represent the city in all agreements with other governmental entities or certification to other governmental entities, but shall have no administrative duty except as required to carry out the responsibilities.
I think that maybe the way that it was worded last time may have confused some people, but if we put up here the way that it reads, and down here everything except that last sentence, right, starting right there, you know, we're starting right where for service of process, all the way through the last comma before, but shall have no administrative duties except as required to carry out the responsibilities herein. I think that that'll be a little more, my opinion, might be a little more straightforward.
Would you read it for me, please, so I can make a notation?
I would say that it would read, the mayor shall preside at meetings of the council, shall be recognized as head of the city government for all ceremonial purposes by the governor for purposes of military law. No, I wouldn't, that would be omitted, and then, but shall have no administrative duties except as required to carry out the responsibilities herein. Don't define it.
So you're saying take it off that entire
Well,
That's
the
fine.
ci-
That's it.
it's a city official designated to represent the city.
I'm sorry?
You mean to tell me that you want the mayor to not be the city official designated to represent the city?
Designated to represent the city in all agreements. Wouldn't an agreement be a form of contract with other, with other governmental entities? All right, fine. I say that part actually, I'm sorry, I just looked over that one, but that should stay.
Okay. So I
So
will
basically-
work out on the execution of contracts, deeds,
And other documents.
and other
service of
documents,
process.
and service of process too?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I have a question though. Can you clarify that? Because who is served a lawsuit if the city gets sued? Who who's legally supposed to get served with the lawsuit?
The mayor.
So you can't take that out, right?
Well, it's by the charter.
Yeah, but if it's in there, we can't take it out, because he's the one that by law has received the lawsuit.
Usually the
Designate
head
somebody.
of the city
Exactly.
is the one that receives the service of process.
Yes.
So,
Define head of the city.
Yeah, define head of the city. Who is the head of our city?
The head of the city, pursuant to our charter,
Charter.
is the mayor.
the mayor.
It's the mayor.
See, we have a commission manager form of government. And we also say that the mayor sits at the head of the commission and represents the city to all ceremonial purposes. So he is the head of the city.
Yeah, but we're in a tough spot because if we take off for service of process here and then add to the city manager's duties or responsibilities or whatever for service of process, if this one gets passed but that one doesn't get passed, and then nobody gets served. So how do you?
Mr. Attorney,
How
can
do
I
you fix
ask
that?
you, I'm sorry, can I ask you a dumb question? Okay, the motion, the way it was placed, was to remove the language that is in conflict. Can it go to the ballot like that, or do we have to have the specific language?
We have to have the specific language.
Okay,
pursuant
but
to
instead of
Massachusetts.
us sitting over here, you know, coming up with a language,
I will rephrase the language again for you. I just thought that I should bring it out to you even though you had passed it.
yeah, no, I think it's something that, I mean, because we could be here all night, okay, well, yeah, we'll do this, but we don't do that, and we'll do, I mean, I'm a simple person, I don't, I think, yeah,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question. I'm sorry. Can you just clarify why there's a confusion here?
I'm sorry?
Can you clarify why there's a confusion with the service of process? Is that like a duty that is designated under the county manager? I mean, the city manager? Is it that why there is a
It
confusion?
is not usually,
Mhm.
you see, we have a county, city commission, which is the legislative body, not the administrative body. We had a head of the commission, which is the mayor. And the manager strictly is supposed to be administrative. Okay? Anything that the manager does, he's under the supervision and instructions by the commission. But I thought that I should bring it out to you because, as I say, as I read it and I digest it again, it brings questions to my mind, and we have time to discuss it. Now, instead of taking it out to the ballot and lose it like we had last time because we were not quite precise.
So we would be removing from the language execution of contracts, deeds, and other documents, and also service of process. Is that the question? I'm just trying to figure out what exactly we're trying to remove from this section.
I would suggest to leave the service of process.
Okay. So.
And it should be understood for the group that's here that any and all contracts, interlocal agreements, or anything that has a binding effect on the city comes to the city commission for request for approval, and it is approved by a resolution. And if it implies a financial impact to the city, generally it is accompanied by an ordinance. So that, I cannot do anything without that resolution, that legislation signed by the mayor. And basically, all these resolutions, just so that there's an understanding, gives the authority to the manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the city to such and such vendor for such and such amount. So the
Basically, it's a
legis-
checks and balance, I mean.
If you remember, we just requested a $1.1 million loan.
1.5.
1.5. And one of the requirements was what, Yolanda?
It was authorizing the city manager to execute that loan.
The mayor had to
However,
sign.
the mayor had to sign as well as the manager, and the clerk had to attest to it.
And I'll tell you why. See, whoever gets the money has the right to demand whoever signs the document.
Whoever signs a note is actionable
Exactly.
under that note. Yeah, that's true.
If I've lent you the money, and I want your wife and your children to sign, your children have to sign, otherwise I'm not gonna lend you the money.
emergencies.
Okay? But I'll rewrite it. We have time. Okay? I just wanted to bring it to your
Would-
attention.
Let me tell you, it's very scary
It is.
for me.
I'm sure it is, because you signed a note, you signed a prom note
He did.
saying that you're gonna pay back $1.5 million.
Yeah, put it-
No, because you see, he has immunity pursuant to statute.
Okay. That was gonna be my next question. How do you,
He has
I mean, I
immunity.
know we're going off on a tangent right now, but
No, we're not.
where's
It's-
the
No, you
where's
have
the
immunity,
protection?
you have. Okay? Now, we will rewrite it and bring it back to you.
I hope it never happens.
We also discussed, Mr. Paz had a question about removal of city manager on the word him. And we advise you that him did not mean gender, it just meant person, okay? Acting city manager, we did not discuss. Powers of the city manager, we're going to go into I and work it out. The clerk was not discussed. City attorney and engineer was not discussed. Annual budget is something that you should leave be. 503, there's no reason to discuss it. 504, .04, public hearings on budget notice. This is perfectly all right. Budget hearing, this is what we have been doing for the last many years. 5.06, the revision of the budget. This is also part of what Yolanda does with the administration. Final adoption of the budget, we do it according to statute. 5.08, approval and contained in the budget. This is normal. Levies of taxes required by budget, failure to adopt ordinance. All budget items have to be approved by ordinance. Transfer of funds, I think that that's a given. You should not discuss that. I mean, you should if you want to, but there's no need for that. Emergency appropriation, this is exactly what we did when Hurricane Irma came. We complied with all of the requirements. There was an emergency declared pursuant to the emergency and pursuant to section 5.11. We appropriated, we took the initiative, the commissioner took the initiative to instruct the manager to inquire about a loan. 5.12, authorizing the council to borrow money in case of emergency. That's also a given. 5.14, the expression is limited by the budget.
13.
I'm sorry?
13.
General obligation bonds limitation.
5.14,
5.13.
limited by the budget. You have never spent anything that is not in the budget. At any time there is something that is outside of the budget, the manager brings it out to the commission. Independent audit, we do have an independent auditor. Non-partisan election, we, Madam Clerk, take care of that thing. Form a ballot, it's established by statute. On recall, that was approved, that's also an item that was approved on 11/4/1914, 2014.
Can I ask a question? Sorry
Sure.
to interrupt, but on 512, authority of the council to borrow money in case of emergencies. Reference was made to, that's what took place now that we borrowed
Correct.
$1.5 million. But if, and I might just be reading this wrong, but it says here that this is the second line, authorize the borrowing of money by the issuance of negotiable notes of the city. Isn't that isn't that a municipal bond, basically?
No, it's not.
No.
It's not? Oh,
No.
what is that
Bond is a
exactly?
bond and a loan is a loan.
But what's a negotiable note of the city?
Well,
What does that mean?
May I?
Sure.
You can negotiate the terms and conditions of a loan with the banking institution as you can with a bond. They're both negotiable. Interest rates.
A negotiable also means that
And the
it shall be
terms.
sold in the open market.
Right.
In other
Right,
words, you
but
go
I-
to, you go to.
I think the way that it's written is wrong.
I'm sorry?
I think the way that it's written is wrong. Authorize the borrowing money by the issuance of negotiable notes of the city?
Well, the note belongs to the city, but you can negotiate it,
No, that's not my point.
okay?
In any budget year where circumstances creating such an emergency as described in section 11, 5.11 have arisen, the council may, upon recommendation of the manager, authorize the borrowing of money by the issuance of negotiable notes of the city.
Yes.
That doesn't mean a note that a bank's giving you to sign.
No, no, no. The negotiable note is not the bank giving you a note. It's that we create a note, and that note can be sold in the open market.
Right, so that has nothing to do with in the scenario that you guys borrowed $1.5 million.
No, sir.
Okay, that's
It
where the
came out
confusion
on
was, 'cause that's what you
511.
said when you read it.
He came on 511.
Huh?
He came on the 511.
That doesn't say anything about borrowing money, though. That just says appropriation.
May I
Right, you allocate
suggest,
money from the budget for the emergency. No, please, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to.
may I suggest that we check the language under 512 with our independent auditors? Because we do check with them on any of these transactions that the city has recently engaged. And they have offered independent auditing opinions on these to make sure that the language meets with, under the GASB and FASB statements that we have to adhere to. There are laws that govern the wording on the monies that the city borrows, either by via of funds or a straight loan from a bank.
And by the
So-
way, this has to be not only approved by us, but it also has to be approved by the bank. And the bank has a loan officer, which is backed up by a bond officer. And this has to be reported to IRS also.
Correct.
So note, I can't remember the form.
The form is a 941 form to the
Okay.
IRS.
So this is secure, the way that it was written, in my opinion.
If I may?
Sure.
Just for the well-being of our peace of mind, if you want to call it that, I could ask the city auditors to go ahead and give an independent opinion on what,
On this.
if they believe that there needs any language amendment, or if this complies with the general terms of conditions of either borrowing or issuing bonds.
Okay.
If the language is consistent
Mr.
with
Attorney,
either one.
Do we need a motion for that, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion.
okay, I have a motion, I need a second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And at this point, let me remind you, there's only like 2 minutes left to 7 o'clock, and we need to set time and date for,
And for the record, I'm not an attorney, I don't speak legalese, it just sounded wrong to me.
No,
Mine-
you're
mine's
totally
simple.
correct.
that's why you're here.
Now, if we have only 3 minutes, let's leave section 6, Article 6, qualifications and election. Okay?
Okay?
And let me go again to my pet section, which is section 8.5.
8 what?
8.5. The reason that I suggested for you to look at it is that we already took this to the electorate, and the electorate decided to vote no on it. I want you to go to 8.07.
Okay?
I'm sorry, not 8.7. Hold on a second. 8.7A.
Okay? 8.07A,
Yes,
okay?
as an apple. Upon passage of this charter,
Which one is
this
Eight-
office,
18.
the office of elected mayor under the prior charter, shall terminate on April 14, 1980, and shall thereafter stand abolished.
What does this mean?
We haven't had a mayor since 1980.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could read that so many different ways.
Yes, we have
So-
another mayor. Mr. Mayor, sorry, you don't exist.
I looked at
So there goes all,
that
there
note
goes
that
all
you
your
signed,
liability,
don't
forget
worry
it.
about it.
You don't exist.
I want my money back.
I have a feeling where that came from, I don't know if you remember. We did not have a race for, or a seat for the office of the mayor. In years ago, when I started working here, every candidate used to run for office, not for the office of mayor or the office of commissioner. It was an at-large election. The highest vote getter would become the mayor. That's when I started working here in 1982. That's the way it happened. So this language, Mr. Villalobos, could be inconsistent with charter changes where they separated the mayor's race from the commission race.
Well, hell, I've been mayor 2-3 times.
There you go. You see, you didn't even know about it.
But as I say, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, I suggested that this language be abolished. I mean, first of all, we talk about a former by the way, most city charters at the inception, paragraph 1, if you want to say it, it says, former government. The former government of the city shall be. It doesn't have that here. We take it for granted that it's a council, manager, form of government. But it doesn't say that. You understand? Now, we don't want to put that on the ballot, because if we put out that on the ballot, people might get confused and vote against it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So can we continue this discussion next time?
Okay.
All right.
But as I say, please take a look at section, article, section 8.06, okay?
Okay.
Okay. We need to set, Madam Clerk,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
dates for the following meeting.
Okay, dates for the following meeting. The following commission meeting is scheduled for November 1st, and you agreed to hold these meetings on
November when?
commission. November 1st.
Well,
Wednesday, November
Mr. Mayor and members of the Charter Review, unfortunately, I have a family emergency. A very dear member of my family is going to go on surgery this October 30th. I'm going to be out for a week. So have it before, have it after, but I can't be here.
Okay.
She lives in Tampa, so, and it's quite serious. It's not something that.
Okay, no need to say anymore. Then I will suggest if we don't have an attorney, we should not have a meeting November 1st. In terms of commission meeting, how many meetings are left?
This year, we have November 1st, which is cancel the Charter Review Board, November 15th, December 6th, and December 20th is usually canceled due to the holiday.
Yeah.
That's on the agenda for tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, December 20th.
So you have 3,
We have November 15 and December 6th. We have 2 more meetings this year
Okay.
because November 1st is canceled.
So, Mr. Attorney, how long did you say you would be gone?
About a week.
To be safe, it will be better December.
So,
We don't have to do it on a commission date. We can do it anytime.
Yeah, I was
they
just about
wish.
to, can we do it like the following Wednesday? Do you think you'll be back the following Wednesday?
In all honesty, I think that it's going to be about a week.
let's just.
The
let's just
recuperation
say
is about from
Wednesday.
6 to 8 weeks. So it's
Okay.
Let's say
serious.
15.
Why don't we do the following? I mean, we can do 2 things. We could, for now, for sure, November 1st is out of the question. So the next one is the 15th. The only thing that I would do, I mean, we have 2 choices. Either, and I hate to be, don't get mad at me, but I know the last time we talked about November, and the holidays are coming. November and December are kind of difficult to get together. So we can either start at the beginning of the year, or let's play it by ear and assume, but let's not leave it for the last minute so people make plan. We need to know, maybe stay in contact with the city attorney as for the November 15th meeting.
Mayor, I have a question. The board or the committee decided that you're shooting for a November 2018 election?
Yes.
I would recommend, if I may, for the sake of everybody's schedule and the sake of the holidays and everything, that we reconvene as a group the second meeting in January, to be a little bit more realistic.
I think so.
That'll give you time to take care of your family matters. Obviously, we're gonna be canceling some meetings tonight. And I think that maybe a couple more meetings ought to do at least go through the completion of the charter, and then a couple of meetings to go through the questions, and so I think we'll have plenty of time for the November 2018.
Okay.
What are your thoughts? I mean, I wanna hear from you.
Just don't wanna lose
Yeah.
momentum.
I think it's a long time, we might forget, come back and be blank about what we were talking about.
No, that's why I put it on the
Can-
At
table.
least
Can
one
we-
meeting before next year.
Can we meet, I mean,
That
I
could
know that,
happen to me
that
so easy.
the attorney can't make it on the first, but might not be wise to have a meeting without an attorney, but could we discuss and then have things to present to
It's
the
not
city
wise.
attorney?
I don't think
No.
so.
No, we need the president of the attorney.
Yeah.
How about the
We,
15th then? Does the 15th work for
You
everyone?
don't have to do it
On a commission date, right?
I mean, you can schedule it next week if you want.
Okay, so for now, I think the overall consensus are, let's cancel the meeting of the first, but then let's leave the 15,
The 15th?
until we get confirmation from.
Yeah, we
the
can get
city.
it, schedule it tentatively, and if you're available to come, sure.
6 p.m., okay with the group then?
6 p.m., November 15th.
If you can, please get back to the clerk regarding your availability for the 15th at 6 o'clock, so that there's ample time to notify all the parties involved.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I
So,
can tell you
take-
right now, I'm available,
Okay,
so.
okay, great.
Okay. Anything else? I lost my agenda. No, I got it. Okay, go to the order.
I think this was a very productive,
Yep.
meeting. We accomplished a lot in a very short time.
I believe so.
So I commend everyone.
Thank you. I totally agree. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good night. Thank you very much.